will release the money. So this dollar will come to the seller, and because it has not cheated or anything, it will get back its deposit. So it will get all the money back to the seller. So essentially, the seller gets its own money and buyer's money. Good. And the buyer gets a book. Now all this is good and it's good. If something goes wrong, what will happen? If the seller
amount will be
deducted. So the contract over here should be written such that both the cases are coded in the contract. Everyone understands this?
Yeah.
So the code should be such that in the good path, what happens, in the bad path, what happens. Everything is there. So it's just like a if-else thing. Like if this receives, and this is what happens. If this does not happen, then this is how to deal with the situation. So the blockchain essentially, for all applications, this blockchain essentially is a kind of just a contract. The blockchain will have a contract, will run a smart contract that will have all these things. Is this clear? Because it's very important that you understand how to use the blockchain. Because in real, when you will be solving, you will be given an unknown problem, right? You will be given a problem which you have to solve for your solve, and then you have to see if you really want a blockchain or not. If you have a blockchain, how will you use that blockchain? And this smart contract, when I'm saying smart contract, who is running the smart contract again? Who is running the smart contract? It is on the blockchain. What does it mean? Where is it being executed? Is it my machine or your machine? All the nodes. So that's why it's not just one person giving a verdict. Everyone has the same code that is running, and then they are, everyone is running the same code and they are giving the same output. That's how this accountability, you achieve accountability with blockchain. So should I continue?
Ma'am's lecture is there.
Yeah.
Is it pending?
Yeah. This is just the one I've just started, and I still have a lot of slides. So should I move to the next part?
Can we continue
Continue in
after
after
lunch?
lunch?
Yeah, it's your tutorial today.
Yeah.
So you can proceed with this first.
Okay.
Then we'll go to tutorial.
Okay, fine. So then I'll leave you with one thing, because that's the crucial part. Okay. So the thing is that we need a mechanism, because none of this is like, everything is off chain, right? This book is going off chain. The seller is, the receipt is off chain. So there should be a mechanism to input the correct data on chain, right? All the data that you have this at this point is all off chain data. It's like nothing is happening on the chain, right? It's happening between these parties. It's off chain. So this interaction that you want, where you would take the external data and write it on the smart contract, write it on chain, is where you need an interaction with the external world. And this is essentially provided with the Oracle. So Oracle is an interface between the blockchain and the external world. And it will take inputs from the external world, write it on the blockchain, or it will do some computation on, the computation for the blockchain.
So, just like in crypto, when we write proof, we assume that this oracle will always give the right answer. It is the same thing here as well?
So that is the purpose, that this oracle will actually correctly give the external input, will do everything correctly. But then the question is, how do I ensure that?
Yes.
How do I have an oracle
Right.
which can do this? In cryptography, when we write proofs, we just assume there is an oracle, right?
Right.
Here we have to design this oracle that will take this external data and correctly input the internal data, put it on the chain. But these oracles do more than just query and response. They would essentially be an interface for queries. It would be an interface for even computing. So it's really a very powerful tool And you will see many connections with what we have been talking about the last 2 days when I talk about the oracles. Okay. So, stop it here.
So,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
Like in the context of line selling, so smart contracts blocks the loan, and once it is approved,
Releases.
This is the same function of smart contract in cryptocurrencies. And what is the function of smart contracts in cryptocurrencies? What does it do?
All the same.
This
Same thing. Same
blocks
thing.
the money.
Locks the money on. Yeah. Locks the money, runs the script, unlocks.
Once the block is added, it validates, then the smart contract releases the money.
Yeah.
And then it's just a 1 hour time delay, you said it approves the transaction. Other smart contracts still approve it, but it has approved, then we wait 1 hour.
Okay. Yeah, so the smart contract approves, right? That's essentially all that information is on the block. It needs a little bit of, you need some, what would I say? Because when so it needs confirmation or more trust in that activity. That's why we are waiting.
The smart contract is already in the block.
Yeah.
For
So
every
this transaction, this entire transaction is written in the smart. When I'm saying it's written in the smart contract, it is in the form of a transaction that is written actually on the blockchain.
transaction that is happening is there a smart contract?
Yeah. So for example, if the Bitcoin script that I showed you, that is also a contract.
That is a smart contract.
That is a smart contract. But only thing is that when I talk about smart contracts should be Turing complete. So this has a lot more features. A Bitcoin script does not have that. Bitcoin script does not have that, but it is a logic that you are executing.
Bitcoin script is automated.
Everything is automated here. Everything is automated. Only the code you have is very small, and yeah, it's a very small piece of code. Here you can have anything codified.
The transaction is to the multiple beliefs. Is it the smart contracts based to the transaction, each transaction?
Yeah. Okay. Let me take this offline because there's we'll have the next class. Amit, do you have a quick question or can we take it offline?
So basically using this decentralized oracles, essentially we are making blockchains accountable here, right? This is what we are trying to achieve using decentralized oracles. Applying.
No, accountability means the buyer and the seller, they are both accountable.
Yeah, but how do we prove that is decentralized oracle is helping to that?
Yeah. So the decentralized oracle is essentially helping to take this information and put it on the blockchain. It is just a connection.
Okay, and later anybody can verify.
Later anybody can verify. So the blockchain anyone can verify.
Yes.
But the only thing is that if this data is not correctly input, then everything goes. There's nothing. There's no point.
Right.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the afternoon.
I have copied most of the content from this paper, Exploring the Attack Surface of Blockchain, a comprehensive survey. Okay. This was published in IEEE Communication Survey Tutorial in 2020. So, what are different types of attacks are possible in blockchain? So, in this paper, they have categorized it into 3 different categories. First is attacks associated with mathematical technique. So attacks associated with mathematical technique used for creating the ledger, such as blockchain forks, tail blocks, orphan blocks, etc. And attacks associated with peer-to-peer architecture. Because whenever these blockchain nodes are created, we attach all the blockchain nodes into a peer-to-peer network, decentralized network. So, there also you will see the attack like selfish mining, 51% attack, DDoS attack, DNS attack, fork attack, etc. or withholding attack. So, another types of attacks are attacks associated with the application context that uses the blockchain technology, such as blockchain injection attack, double spending attack, wallet theft attack, etc. So, here in this paper they have categorized the attacks with respect to attacks associated with mathematical technique, attacks associated with peer-to-peer architecture, attacks associated with the application context of the blockchain. They have categorized under 3 different categories. So we mainly focus here the attack surface on public blockchain. Okay. Why number of attacks are possible in public blockchain, why not in private blockchain, that we'll discuss. So we survey the possible attacks related to the design construct of blockchain, peer-to-peer architecture and the application-oriented use of blockchain. We mainly explore the attacks that are used in public blockchain. So what are the shortcomings of this public blockchain? So like as we discussed in last tutorial, how to create one Ethereum node. Okay, so in Bitcoin and Ethereum, any user can join because it's a public chain. So any Ethereum, any node can join the network by running an Ethereum software client on their machine, and participate any transaction process. Participate in the transaction processing in the public chain network. Since the blockchain is public, anyone outside the system can validate the authenticity of the transaction in the blocks. So the sometimes if you are using some weak trust model, then it exposes the blockchain to a wide variety of attacks, allowing adversary to easily compromise the system. So to address the shortcomings of the public blockchain and reduce the attack opportunity, private blockchains are developed. So in a private blockchains, when a node join in a private blockchain, they the identity is not disclosed, but whenever they join and someone is trying to inject some type of attack, that can be controlled because that is a private blockchain. Okay. So private blockchains are not significantly exposed to adversarial attack due to stronger trust model. Whether public blockchains are more prone to attack because it is available to any user. So here in this slide, after this slide, we'll discuss all the attacks which are generally you can see those attacks in case of public blockchains. So forks is blockchain structure, either forks or orphan blocks. So we'll discuss this. So everybody see this fork, yes or no? So in a main blockchain, when you will see this fork in a blockchain, so a fork represents the condition in which the nodes in the network have diverging view. Suppose some nodes, like you have some rules, and some set of nodes are saying that these rules are correct, we'll follow it, and some set of nodes are saying that these rules we have different or new, some extra added some rules, and those rules are correct, we will follow that rules. So you have diverging opinion, different opinion among the two parties. Okay, so one party is saying these rules are correct, whatever we are doing, we are correct in our way, and we will do that only. And another parties are saying that no, whatever I am saying is correct, we will update the rule and we will follow that. So a fork represents in a condition in which the nodes in the network have diverging views and that state of the blockchain, and it persisting over long periods of time and even indefinitely. Like sometimes whatever rules I am saying updated, that rule will stay for long period of time, and after that the another fork will most of the people will follow the new chain instead of the old chain. So forks can occur when the blockchain underlying rules or code are modified, when blockchain network experiences divergence, creating a separate chain with different opinion or different version of the story. This can occur for a variety of reasons, often due to disagreement with the community, updates to the protocol, and change of the consensus rules also. So typically you will see two types of fork, one is hard fork, another is soft fork. So why these forks happen? As I said, that protocol upgrade to introduce new features or to improve the security and scalability, we have introduced another chain. So for that reason another forks happen. Another is disagreement within the community. So some parties are saying that we have different set of opinion. Okay, so different fraction, in the blockchain community might disagree. Some community might disagree on the direction of the development, resulting in another fork. and bug fixes in case of vulnerability is discovered, it needs to be updated. So forks can be also caused by malicious intent. Okay, some malicious users create one separate chain and they are supporting that to gain some So such as implanting civil nodes that follow conflicting validation rules or by carrying out selfish mining in a rest condition. So malicious attacker also create chain. So what is a hard fork? We said that two types of forks are there. One is hard fork, another one is soft fork. So a hard fork happens when there is a change to the protocol that is not backward compatible. So what do you mean by backward compatible? Backward compatible means that the nodes running the old version of the software will not recognize transactional blocks created on the new rules. Okay. So a hard fork is when there is a change to the protocol that is not backward compatible, meaning that the nodes running the old version of the software will no longer be validated blocks created on the new rules. So if you will see that this example, this is the original chain and it is forked here. So nodes running the original protocol, these are the node, all are like validated, and these nodes running the original protocol, whereas these nodes running the upgraded protocol. Okay. So this typically results in a permanent split of the blockchain into two chains. One chain follows the old set of rules and another chain follows the new set of rules. So hard forks often lead to the creation of a new cryptocurrency. So you will see Bitcoin Cash was created as a result of hard fork from Bitcoin due to disagreement over the block size. Then next is soft fork. So a soft fork is a backward compatible. What we said that in hard fork it is not a backward compatible, whereas in soft fork it is a backward compatible. It updated the protocol, meaning that nodes running on the old version of the software can still validate blocks created under the new rules. Okay. So but those on the updated software will recognize blocks that conform to the new rule. So you will see this is an example of the soft fork. The original chain follows the original rules and this is the new nodes running the upgraded protocol and they are backward compatible. So soft fork usually involves changes in the title of the rules of the network. Means your software is always updated, yes or no? After some time this version is updated, but it is backward compatible. So Segwit, which has implemented on the Bitcoin as a soft fork to address the transaction. So this is an example of soft fork. So if we see this timeline, major Bitcoin forks. So Bitcoin developed in January 3, 2009. Bitcoin Genesis block established. So here these are the different forks: Bitcoin XT, Bitcoin Unlimited, Bitcoin Classic, Bitcoin Cash, Segregated Witness. This is a soft fork we discussed. Then Bitcoin Gold, Segwit, Twix protocol. These are all the fork of the Bitcoin, major Bitcoin forks. So next we'll discuss stale block. Okay. So what is a stale block? So if you will see here, block 1 has two blocks. One is block 2A, another is block 2B. 2B is a stale block. Why 2B is a stale block? So two separate miners mine block 2A and 2B simultaneously. Okay. Two miners mining the block simultaneously, block 2A and block 2B. Another miner mines block 3 and adds it to block 2A. Another miner mines and added it to block 3 and block 4 on top of the block 3. Since block 2A is included in the longest history and considered valid, block 2B becomes an invalid stale block and its transactions are now sent back to the mempool. So here two miners mine block 1 at the same time and these blocks are added to the chain block 2A and block 2B, and after that when block 3 is mined, it is added to block 2A and block 4 is mined, again it is added to block 3 because it is the longest chain. Okay. So with time this block will invalid. Okay. So we'll go to the main block. So these are the stale block and orphan block. So similarly, a block whose parent block has field points to an unauthenticated block, that is known as orphan block. So this orphan block has no parents. Okay. So this is orphan block. it is detached from the blockchain. In Ethernet, the orphan blocks are called uncle blocks. So a stale block was successfully mined, but it is not accepted in the current blockchain. So you can say stale block, it is successfully mined, but it is not accepted by other nodes. Okay, and here this is expected by other valid, and they added their block in this. So this block will grow and this block will die. So that's why it is known as stale block.
When orphan blocks, is it that it is not validated? Is it the lost block? Or
It is a lost block to be validated.
it is
So
validated?
validated.
So
Yes.
why does it have a parent? Why is it different?
I think it is a lost block
It's
somewhere.
not validated. It is a wrong block.
The goal of the attacker is to isolate network attack. So far we have discussed fork, hard fork, soft fork, stale and orphan blocks. We discussed the attacks on the design of the blockchain. Okay. Now we'll discuss network attack. Like whenever a block is created, we will attach that block in a peer-to-peer network. So we'll discuss the attacks which are possible in case of this when you are adding the blocks in a peer-to-peer network. So the goal of the attacker is to isolate. In network attack, what actually this attacker will do, they isolate the users and miners from the real network, which limit their access to the network resources or create a partition in the network, and it enforce the conflicting rules among the peers. So different types of networks attack are DNS attack, hijacking or special partitioning attack, Eclipse attack. These are the different types of attacks present in the blockchain. So I think you understood the design. Whenever attack possible, whenever you are designing a blockchain, that is fork, stale, orphan, these attacks are possible whenever you are designing the blockchain. And network attack is peer-to-peer network attack. As we said that blockchain is a decentralized distributed network, yes or no? So decentralized means all are connected to a peer-to-peer network, and here the attacker tries to isolate the node. Okay. So the one of them is DNS attack. So how many of you know about DNS? What is DNS?
Domain name system.
Domain name system. Yes. What is the need of DNS?
Instead of remembering the IP addresses, you can name this IP address for remembering. So every network has a different IP addresses.
Yes.
For remembering, it's difficult. For that, we have to rename the IP addresses as a domain name systems.
Yes. So DNS server. How many of you know about DNS server? What is the use of DNS server? When do we need DNS server?
To name the domain.
Like it tells that where is the IP address of the domain name.
Yes. And if it is not found in the DNS server, the IP address,
Error 402.
then
Error 402.
it will give the error.
Page not found.
Page not found it will give, but when it will give page not found?
Connection is established.
Yeah, you are correct. The connection is not established, then it will give page not found. जब आप इंटरनेट के साथ कनेक्टेड नहीं हो, but you have typed the correct address. I'm asking that you have typed the correct address, then it will go to the DNS servers. Yes or no? Suppose we have in IIT, we have our local area network. So do we have our DNS server here? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
No.
No. How many of you are saying no? We have here inside, we have LAN network, yes or no? So those who are outside, I'm not asking them. Those who are inside, I'm asking them. So you can also assume we are in a local area network, yes or no? So we have our DNS server, yes or no? No, we don't have DNS server. Actually आपको नहीं आता क्योंकि आपने नेटवर्क किया नहीं. So I understand about you, but I am asking others.
Only the Wi-Fi providers are not provided. The Wi-Fi providers, the LAN network providers.
So the ISP provider. we have purchase. So we have subdomain. We have purchased. Don't confuse your word ISP provider. Huh? ISP providers are they are providing this. So what is DNS server? How many of you know about DNS server? That's why I told you that you need networks also, basics of networks to do this blockchain technology. Because I generally don't teach my class in a like mathematical type of things. With network perspective we are teaching here. Okay. So DNS, yes.
DNS servers human readable names of servers.
That is DNS name.
DNS server.
Anyone?
DNS server points to the server where the website is hosted, probably.
DNS server point to the
Server where the website is hosted.
yeah. That is okay. You know? No guess? Okay. So I'll show you one picture. So when a node directly going to this picture. Okay. So here this Bitcoin network is in this ID. Okay. Suppose in this ID and it is hosted on a server. Okay. Anywhere in the world it is hosted on a server. But this user is asking for this ID because when you will type, what you will type? www.iitrpr.ac.in. Suppose I am typing this. So for this, one IP address is fixed, and that domain is hosted somewhere. So although that domain is hosted here also in our server, so that domain is you have to purchase some to host that website www.iitrpr.ac.in. So suppose you are asking that, so it will go to the DNS server, and then so whenever DHCP server it will go, and whenever you have accessed that website before, then it will keep that address for some duration of time with DHCP server. Yes or no? And if it is not there, then it will ask to another server that you send me that address. Yes or no? Connect it to me. So in this case, one attacker poison this DNS cache by saying that I have that address, and it will send, instead of sending this is the original IP address, and it will send this IP address to this. So this user will connect to that IP address. So it is attacked. Yes or no? User routed to attacker's network. Instead of going to the original network, it is routed to the this attacker network. So this is DNS attack. So here, when a node joins the Bitcoin network for the first time, it is not aware of the active peers in the network. Okay. So at that time, there is a chance to attack that peer. Okay. That node, to discover the active peers in the network, a bootstrapping mechanism is required, and the domain name system can be used as a bootstrapping mechanism. As you know, DNS seeds are queried by nodes open joining the network. It obtains further information about other active peers. So the initial DNS query returns one or more DNS record along with their corresponding IP addresses of peers that are accepting incoming connection. So once the new node establishes connection to the peers, it can send address command with port number. So DNS opens a wide attack surface to the Bitcoin network. For this attack, an adversary can either inject an invalid list of seeder nodes, that is, I am providing wrong IP addresses to the user, and it open source and in the open source blockchain software, and poison the DNS cache at the resolver by injecting attack. So if the attacker injects a fake list of seeder, the user will be compromised, and as a result, the adversary can potentially isolate blockchain peers. That those peers will be isolated from the original network. Yes or no? Because they have attacked. The attacker attacks all those peers. So you understood this. Then next is BGP hijacking and special partitioning. So again, here we will talk about BGP.
How to protect against this such type of DNS attack?
I have not listed. Papers are there. I'm only discussing attack. Okay. So papers are there. DNS attack papers. So I have not gone through those how to resolve these attacks. I am only discussing what are the possible types of attacks and how these attacks happen.
Can we do this attack, ma'am? Can we do?
I think so. Why not?
This is how we get on.
If all IIT students will try it, but same time it will definitely work.
You can do. There are two types of nodes in most blockchain
What is
applications, namely full node and light node. Sorry.
Now, what is BGP hijacking?
You have read computer networks.
BGP
पढ़ा है भी नहीं. How many of you?
Term BGP, but common networks.
पढ़ा है, पढ़ा है. This is routing mechanism.
Okay.
Broader Gateway Protocol. BGP.
Okay.
Routing mechanism. Computer networks in network layer. It is discussed. BGP routing. Yes or no? So generally there are two types of nodes present in blockchain network. One is full node, another is lightweight node. So you all knew about full node and lightweight node. I discussed, ma'am discussed. So you all knew about full node and lightweight node. Yes or no? So full nodes are the actual participants in the network which are responsible for relaying blocks and transactions, and it maintains an updated copy of the blockchain. Whereas lightweight nodes do not maintain the full blockchain, only the use of services of full nodes to get access to the network. Some checkpoints it stored in lightweight node. So since the lightweight nodes draw their view of the blockchain from full nodes, when a full node is compromised, all of its associated lightweight nodes are also compromised. Okay. So because full nodes are the main nodes, not the main nodes, actual main nodes, but they keep copy of the full blockchain, and under that full node, lightweight nodes are connected. Yes or no? Lightweight nodes only keep some checkpoints from the full nodes. So when these full nodes are compromised, if attackers can hack the full nodes and the attacker is itself a full node, that means all the lightweight nodes are attacked. Yes or no? So when a full node is compromised, all of its associated light nodes are also compromised. So full nodes in a blockchain network are specially distributed across the networks. Then next is BGP route hijacking. One is when the full nodes are hijacked, all the lightweight nodes are hijacked. Another is BGP route hijacking, means this broader gateway protocol we generally use to route information from one node to the another node, or we are transmitting some transaction or something via some peer network or some nodes. So it is a type of cyber attack where an attacker manipulates the broader gateway protocol. That means instead of sending to the best route, it will use some routes where the attackers are present. Okay, that means you are hacking. Yes or no? So broader gateway BGP protocol is used to route data between different networks on the internet. BGP is responsible for determining the most efficient path for data to travel from one network to another, and when these routes are compromised, that means all attacks happens. Yes or no? So special concentration of nodes within the automation system or an ISP makes them vulnerable to. I'm giving you one. No, it's not required. Okay, I forgot to add that picture. Sorry. So I think you understood how this attack happened. Yes or no? One is by compromising the full node, and another is by compromising the route, best route. Okay. Then when the victim nodes are miners of the mining pool, the attacker can substantially reduce the hash rate. So, Eclipse attack. Then here in case of Eclipse attack, what happens? A group of malicious nodes isolates its neighboring nodes using the IP addresses, thereby compromising their incoming and outgoing traffic. So now we are discussing the attack possible in a peer-to-peer network. first we discuss the attack possible in designing. Whenever you are designing for or orphan node or stale nodes, here we are discussing the attacks occur in a peer-to-peer network by BGP or by DNS attack or by Eclipse attack. So in here, these are the, this is the, it is showing blue node, white node, but it is blue. I have these are suppose two blue nodes, and these blue nodes are the honest node, and these are the red nodes. These are the malicious nodes. In this network, these three nodes are malicious nodes, and these, because it is a distributed network, all nodes are connected in a peer-to-peer network. So what happens? These malicious nodes will try to isolate this node, motivate this node, saying that we are correct, and they isolate this node. These three nodes isolate, malicious node isolate this node. Similarly, again these three nodes isolate this node. They don't want, they isolate this node in such a way these two honest nodes will not connect with each other. Okay, and by doing this, they isolate this honest node and they involve this honest node in their party. This is Eclipse attack. Okay. So blue nodes represent the honest node following the true state of the blockchain, while the red nodes are represent the malicious node that form a cluster around the blue nodes. If the connection between the honest node is compromised, the malicious nodes may feed fake blocks to the honest nodes and partition them from the network. As a result, honest nodes end up having the wrong view of the blockchain. So in this way, they partition these two honest nodes and they involve these honest nodes in their group, so that the honest nodes think that this is the actual blockchain. This is correct. So in this way, Eclipse attack happened. Then next is distributed denial of service attack. Okay, DDoS attack. So in distributed DDoS attack, what happened? So for example, here Bitcoin network, 51% attack can lead to denial of service attack. Suppose you have 100 nodes. Okay, you have 100 nodes. Here nodes are, all these nodes are connected. So why it is said 51% attack? 50-50 is in between, yes or no? So if one node will go here, this is 51% attack, here 49. So this is majority, this is minority. So they will try to group in such a way they will be more than this honest node. The attacker will try like this. So type of DDoS attacks are stress testing and mempool flooding. So here I am describing two, many are there. Okay, I will describe only these two attacks. One is stress testing and mempool. So the attack is due to the limited number of transactions per block. A blockchain application can process in a given time. So if you will see that, so what we have written, Bitcoin network, it takes the Bitcoin network 10 minutes to mine a block. So it will take 10 minutes to mine a block. 10 minutes to mine one block. So Bitcoin network take 10 minutes to mine one block. So the average size of transaction in a Bitcoin is approximately 500 bytes. Average size of transaction is 500 bytes. So how many transactions you will do? 2000 transactions are possible, because it is written that it is 1 MB. The maximum size of a block is 1 MB. On average, it takes Bitcoin network 10 minutes to mine a block which has maximum size of 1 MB. So 1 MB, and if the block size is 500 bytes, then maximum 2000 transactions are possible. Yes or no? Maximum 2000 transactions are possible. So the maximum number of transactions added to a block in Bitcoin is reported to be 2210. Each transaction requires a minimum 2 peers to be involved in a transaction. The total active peers served by the network per minute will not exceed 200 peers. So here an adversary may exploit the aforementioned operational reality of the Bitcoin system by introducing civil identities. So if you import, it is require 2000 transactions. Yes or no? So if the attacker will impose some transactions which are fake transaction, in that case this type of attack possible. So a large number of transactions of small value over a short period of time, the network will be congested by creating blocks containing. So you have a time limit, yes or no? The size 2000 transactions per block on average. So if the injector is attaching giving a lot of inserting a lot of fake transaction, that means you are creating a stress in the system. So by introducing large number of transactions of small value over a short period of time, the network will be congested by creating blocks containing those transactions. So next will come what is the difference between this stress testing and mempool. So first we will discuss mempool, then I will differentiate between mempool and stress testing again. Okay. So in mempool testing, what is mempool? In cryptocurrency, a memory pool is a repository of unconfirmed transaction. So whenever you are sending some transaction in a blockchain network, these unconfirmed transactions are you kept in a place that is known as mempool. So another DDoS attack is carried out at the memory pool of the cryptocurrency to increase the mining fee. So mempools act as the cache of unconfirmed transactions. Although the block size is limited to the cryptocurrency, the mempool size has no size limit. So to prioritize that transaction, user starts paying more mining fee as an incentive for miners. So if you will see this, here you see user A, user B, and these are the miners. So here these are the memory pool, these are all the memory pools are there. So whenever you are injecting a transaction 4 here, it will store in a memory pool. So here suppose you have injected transaction 1, transaction 2, transaction 3, transaction 4, etc. So these transactions will be verified by the miner. Yes or no? Verified the miner, but when this transaction will be verified, then those transactions will be kept in a block, and that block will be added to the blockchain. So whenever you are injecting false transaction, that means this miner will take time to verify it, and this transaction are so false. That means whenever you are also pushing the honest transaction will taking more time to be added to the block. Okay, so you got my point. So suppose you have 5 transactions, those are honest transactions, okay, good transactions, and 20 transactions are false transactions. So all the transactions will be stored in this mempool, okay, and the attacker is injecting more false transactions. So the miner will check whether these transactions are valid or not. So whenever false transaction numbers are more, that means the miner will take more time to check, and the honest transaction will suffer because the block will be added late here. So the honest transaction will be suffer because the miner is doing false transaction checking, validating false transaction. Those transactions will not be added to the block, but it is a punishment to the good transaction or honest transaction, because they are taking more time. So you can ask me this